Okay, good afternoon. I will start with um, certain newspapers and journals. These are the important concepts to know about social and economic history of modern India. So, newspapers and journals of 19th and 20th centuries, published in English as well as in a different vernacular language, form an important and authentic source of information for the construction of history of modern India. The first attempts to publish newspapers in India were made by the disgruntled employees of East Indian English East India Company, who suggest to expose the malpractices of private trade. For instance, in 1776, William Bold, being censured by the Court of Directors for private trading, resigned from the company and announced his intention to publish a newspaper. The official response to Bold's scheme was strong and his plan ended before the materialized. In 1780, James Augustus Hickey published the first newspaper in India, titled the Bengal Gazette or Calcutta General Advertiser. Hickey's press was seized within 2 years owing to his outspoken criticism of government officials. Afterwards, many publications appeared, such as the Calcutta Gazette 1784, the Madras Courier 1788, and the Bombay Herald 1789. The newspapers and journals of the early period primarily aimed at catering to the intellectual entertainment of the Europeans and Anglo-Indians. From the second half of 19th century, many powerful newspapers appeared, edited, published by distinguished and fearless journalists. Interestingly, nearly one third of the founding fathers of Indian National Congress in 1885 were journalists. Some of their publications were The Hindu and Swadeshi Mitran under the editorship of G. Subramanya Iyer, Kesari and Maratha under Balgangadhar Tilak, Bengali under Surendranath Banerjee, Amrita Bazar Patrika under Shishir Kumar Ghosh and Motilal Ghosh, Sudarak under Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Indian Mirror under N.N. Sen, Voice of India under Dadabhai Nauroji, Hindustan and Advocate under G.P. Verma. The Tribune and Akbari in Punjab, Hindu Prakash, Dhyan Prakash, Kal and Gujarati in Bombay, and Som Prakash and Bangawasi and Sadarani in Bengal were other noted newspapers of that time. The Indian nationalists and revolutionaries living abroad published newspapers and journals. Indian sociologist at London by Shyamji Krishna Verma, Vande Mataram at Paris by Madam Kama, Talwar at Berlin by Virendranath Chattopadhyay, and Gadar at San Francisco by Lala Hardayal, to infuse a feeling of nationalism among Indians living abroad. Newspapers depict almost all aspects of life in colonial India from around the 1870s onwards. From the 1920s onwards, newspapers tracked the major events during the freedom struggle. However, newspapers or newspaper accounts cannot be seen unprejudiced or completely objective. The accounts that were published in newspaper in London by pro-British Raj people were bound to be different from the report in an Indian national paper. When you see other sources, oral history refers to the construction of history within the help of non-written sources. For instance, personal reminiscence. Oral sources allow historians to broaden the boundaries of their discipline and corroborate their findings from other sources of history. However, many historians remain skeptical of oralist. When you see certain creative literature, the most significant outcome of the Indo-European contact was novel which emerged in the later half of 19th century. The first important writer of that period was the famous Bengali novelist Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. Uh, his novels were almost historical. The best known among being Anand Mat, which is written in 1882, especially for its powerful lyric Vande Mataram and depiction of the Sannyasi revolt. His last novel, Rajasimha, can be called the grand finale to his remarkable career. Next, Icharam Surya Ram Desai was a fine scholar of medieval Gujarati literature. His first novel, Hind Ane Britannica, was one of the earliest Indian novels with political overtones. Tamil writers like Girija Devi and Ramatirtha Tammal, who wrote Moharana Rajani and Dasikalani Mosha Valai, respectively, also made the novel effective vehicle of his social experience. G.V. Krishna Rao's Kilubommalu, The Puppets, which is written in 1956 in Telugu, was concerned with the moral aspects and behavior of the rural people. Vaikom Muhammad Bashir was one of the eminent writers in the Malayalam whose famous novel, The Balya Kala Saki, The Childhood Friends, which is written in 1944, was a tragic tale of love. Similarly, Takaji Shiva Shankara Pillai became prominent for his two extremely well written works in Malayalam, and Totiyade Makan, Son of Scavengers, which is written in 1948, and the Chemmini in 1956. Despite, despite having different educational backgrounds and social outlooks, all these writers shared a strong sense of realism and deep interest in the life of the marginalized and oppressed sections of the society. These novels give a picture of social milieu of the days they related. Okay, relate to. When you see other certain cultural aspects or cultural sources, one among the painting, some information of socio-economic, political, cultural life during colonial period can be obtained from the paintings of this period. The company paintings, also referred as Patna Kalam, emerged under the patronage of East India Company. They picturize the people and scenes as they existed at the time. Trades, festivals, dances, and attire of people were visible in these works. Company paintings continued to be popular throughout 19th century until the introduction of photography in India. Okay, so the pictorial images produced by the British and the Indians paintings, like pencil drawings and posters, cartoons, and bazaar prints, are especially important records of the Great Revolt of 1857. The pictures, the British picture offer images that were meant to provoke a range of different emotions and reactions. Some of them commemorate the British heroes who saved the English and repressed the rebels. Relief of Lucknow, painted by Thomas Jones Barker in 1859, is one such example. Another painting of this period is in memoriam by Joseph Noel Patton, recorded in the painting 2 years of the revolt 1857. One can see English women and children huddled in a circle, looking helpless and innocent, seemingly waiting for the inevitable dishonor, violence, and death. Okay, these paintings of the mutiny period are important for the historian to interpret and understand the world views of the British and the Indians regarding this major event. Kalighat painting that came to be to the fore in Kolkata in 19th century depicted not only mythological figures but also ordinary people engaged in the everyday life. These later pictures capture the social change taking place in Calcutta of the time. These paintings made a common social evils of the time. Some of these paintings satired certain modes adopted by the people of the time. In the last decade of 19th century, a new art movement emerged which received its primary stimulus from the growing nationalism in India. Artists like Nandalal Bose, Raja Ravi Verma were representatives of this new trend. In the rise of Bengal, school led by Abhinandranath Tagore, nephew of Rabindranath Tagore, E.B. Havel, who joined the art school in Calcutta as principal, and Ananda Kentish Kumaraswamy, son of an important Tamil political leader in Sri Lanka, played a vital role. Though many the paintings of new trend primarily focused on the themes of India. Okay, so these are the important sources to know about the to know about the social and economic aspects of the modern India. So apart from these, there are many other writings contributed by Indian economics like R.C. Dutt and Dadabhai Nauroji's is a drain theory. And also some other prominent Indian origin economists who provided a abundant material of the economical aspects during the colonial times. Okay, so and also certain other private archives also gives about the the source to read about the social economic history of modern India. Like the private archives comprise just papers and documents of individuals and families of note who played a significant role in development of modern India, and the papers of eminent leaders of the nationalist movement and the records of organizations like the Indian National Congress are housed in Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in New Delhi. And the archives of banks, business houses, and chambers of commerce are extremely helpful in the study of economic changes which has taken place during the colonial period. Okay, so apart from these, you also know certain published archives through the published archives. You know economical aspects of that time. Like the most significant archival publications are the parliamentary papers, which include many excerpts from the records of East India Company and the government of India under the crown, and the reports of parliamentary select committees, various royal commissions constituted on specific subjects like education, civil reforms, and famines, and the parliamentary debates on the Indian Empire are indispensable. The the proceedings of the Indian and provincial legislatures, the weekly gazettes published by central and provincial governments, and collections of laws and regulations are issued from time to time as serve as useful source material for the historical research. Okay, so these are also a important source to know about various conditions of modern India. Okay, so apart from these, many other source you may find particularly during the Mughal rule. Okay, so during the Mughal rule, many writers you find, they wrote many books in the various languages, particularly Arabic and Persia. Mainly, they followed the two important languages at that time, and the main literature also you find from these language only. Okay, so apart from the Arabic and Persian, other languages also developed at that time, like Hindi. Other vernacular languages also started at that time. So those are the literature in these languages also the important source to know about the know about the conditions which prevailed during the modern India. Okay, so apart from these, we also find many certain judicial records, various judicial records which were preserved at various places, particularly Madras and Calcutta and Bombay. Okay, so mainly the judicial records housed in the Madras Record Office, the archives of Mayor's Fort at Fort St. George, beginning from 1689, are the earliest available judicial archives. The pre-Plassey records of Mayor's Court at Fort William have been lost, but those for the year 1757 to 73 are kept in the record room of the Calcutta High Court, along with the archives of Supreme Court of Bengal. Okay. So similarly, the records of Mayor's Court at Bombay, established in 1728, are available in the Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, which also has the custody of the archives of Bombay Recorders Court and Supreme Court. So apart from the containing proceedings and miniature proceedings and the minutes, this category of records contains copies of wills, probates, and letters of administration, which are useful for the genealogical studies and for investigating pertaining to the state of society and economic conditions in the respective regions. Okay, so apart from these, certain other archives of European powers also you find. So the archives related to the Portuguese preserved in Goa, mainly belonging to the period from 1700 to 1900, are available for the history of Portuguese possessions in India. The orders and dispatches from Lisbon received in Goa and responses and reports dispatched from India to Portugal constitute the most significant historical material among the Portuguese archives. The Dutch records of Cochin, Malabar are in the Madras Record Office, and those of Sinsura in the State Archives of West Bengal. Okay, so these are also official records which maintained by various colonial powers, which were preserved at various places. Okay, so the French archives of Chandranagar and Pondicherry were taken to Paris by the French authorities before they leaving India. Okay, so the archives of Danish possessions were also transferred to Copenhagen when the Dutch sold Trankebar and Serampore to the English East India Company in 1845. The remaining Danish records, mainly relating to Trankebar, are now housed in the Madras Record Office. Okay, so these are also important sources to know the official administrative structure which followed by the various colonial powers during this time. Okay, so apart from these, the various archives were preserved at three provinces, three important provinces like Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. And apart from these, many other important statistical orders and census reports and economical reports were preserved by the colonial powers, and later they were handled to they were they were returned to the Indian officials before they leaving to their nations. Okay, European nations. Okay, so all these are the important sources to know about Indian social and economic history of modern period. Okay, so we'll see the next concept in the next class. Okay, this is end of the class today. We may meet tomorrow again.